So we jump to the next one where we discuss next 45 minutes. Okay, so what we discussed up till now is first 35 minutes of the webinar, which is typically a 190-minute webinar. You give 10 minutes buffer for each, depending on the question and answers and certain relevant elements that come about during the process. So first 45 minutes, you got the draft. Now, for first 35 minutes, you got the draft. For 45 minutes, following is going to happen, and it's a hardcore sales activity. Okay. So 20 minutes of sales pitch, 15 minutes of Q&A, and then 10 minutes of the next steps. That's what your structure should be. In those first 20 minutes of a sales pitch, your content of the product, right? And now you're showing the value. Okay. What does that mean? The value would mean that what you've been talking about earlier as a value proposition, you're talking about life-changing skills. Okay. What does that mean? You remembered all the research that you did for an asset. You had why, where, when, what, and so many times you found the whys and the causes and this and the other. All that comes out in this value. Okay. So in that sense, this is the product value showcasing that happens, where you're talking about what the product, what the problem was, how we're solving it, how it solves to a larger aspect, and what has been put in as an ingredient to do that. Okay. Now, the ingredients typically will relate to your secrets that you talk about, the value propositions. Okay. Relate them here in that context. So again, going with example of the course, right? If you're giving them a course, which would an online course, right? The purpose, say yoga, we discussed earlier, right? If the purpose was giving the yoga lessons for your left arm, which is paining, the RISE1 example that we took. Now you're giving them you are letting them know that besides yoga, you're also getting nutritional activities as your benefit, because such occurrence that happens again will never again, because if you continue with your the nutritional activities that you mentioned through and the asanas that you mentioned through will result into benefit for your whole body, not only for your left arm, right? And you give reasons for that. So the three secrets, how you do it, what you do it, and where you do it, that results into another value proposition, which I just give an example for. You do it for that specific asset or that specific niche that you're talking about. So that is the content of the product. Okay. Then you give extra bonuses, right? Now, for example, for left arm you have something, for left leg you have something, or something like that. And I'm continuing with the same example, so you get the picture right. So you add those as bonuses, right? Suppose you add the right arm also in this, and you add the left side or the right side of the body as well, right? So those becomes your value and the details as extra bonuses to this, right? You establish the fact that your nutrition is an extra bonus and how it benefits. Now you're adding other body elements which could become your extra bonus. Clear? So product was discussed, and then your bonuses are discussed. Now you go to the total value and the purpose, right? Simple. Now you're talking about your entire niche. You're talking about the product, how it's solving it, the purpose it's solving it, and what it will grow into at the eventual pace, because you're also now talking about your MVP too. Clear? With that, give them a story, an experiential story. Now, experiential story in this case could be the problem that existed, the solution you provided, and the effectivity. Now, this could be a live example that has happened by the virtue of your consultations or your earlier customer who faced the issue and how it serves its purpose, an interview there, and so on and so forth. Right? This is that. So you show so to speak, a real case example which has been and proven to be have been done earlier. This is that. Then you go to a created urgency. You remember the time limit I was showing, right? And show scarcity and timer and scarcity. That means you filled in the 100 seats because they're meant for 150 people. So now next 50 are the only ones that you can take, because this is the capacity that you have kind of made for this, and it has to in so much time. Clear? That becomes your sales urgency, if you will, or you're creating a sense of urgency during the work you're doing this. And call to action is nothing but people get a payment link or some sort of a landing page where they can go to and download something to then go about paying the amount to become a customer and so on and so forth, right? So this is that. And then continue with the Again, this is a inherent skill I told you, right? This has to continue. Your high energy, your ambience, your purpose, and your politeness should continue throughout. Okay, and taking permission and putting the ethical view through is a continuous process. These are soft skills, right? Play a very important role in the whole process. And then you, whoever has applied for it, you give them, acknowledge them, and call out and applaud the people that who've done this, and so on and so forth, so that people get encouraged or get motivated by the virtue of doing this. All right. So this is your 20 minutes. Your next 15 minutes is all about Q&A. Okay. And during the Q&A, allow questions in permitted time limits, because Q&A can never end, right? So you give them 15 minutes, your top questions, so that people also find the sense of urgency to ask a question in case they have any. And on the list, and you pick up the top or the repetitive ones, you can of course cancel because they would have been answered earlier, and so on and so forth. So now should be at the end of the sales pitch. Now, typically, as we discussed earlier, right? Q&A should be put to the end, where you put in your main agenda of the first 35 to 45 minutes. You've given your value prop, you've given your sales pitch, you create a sense of urgency, and you put in a call to action, right? Now your Q&A starts, right? Where the remaining lot will get converted if they have to, based on the urgency and the respective limiter that you've given there. Now, true and value answers to be provided. So again, the ethical ones come into play, right? Don't give it off the hat. If you don't know something, right, which is doubtful because this is your niche, your digital assets, etc., you might want, it could be a public, this could be a statistics out there, right, which might be asked by somebody, which you might not be having the latest numbers for, and so on and so forth. And in this case, you can always get back to them, and whether they can send you an email or put in a landing page and send you a note or something, right? And you can get back to them for that. With that, you should focus on problem solving largely, right? And the focus on reason for questions asked. So what this means is typically people's communication might not relate to a literal question that they're asking for, but try to answer something that they're perceiving is what the question is. Okay, this will give a higher value. Now, because of your experience in the field and your niche and your asset that you created, you will know such kind of questions already, so that you can answer them appropriately. Okay, so that is the purpose behind the Q&A, and that's what it means when you see the related question answers mentioned there. Now, next steps in the last 10 minutes, okay, is about being ethical again. Ethical means these are your things which are intrinsic and should carry out as soft elements throughout the process. You have to be precise, show value on each next step, okay, and showcase and experience the problems that were overcome, right? This is the larger goal. People come here to is solve their own problem, right? So you showcase a question, showcase the answer, the problem it caused, and how the solution was found out, where it was addressed to, and so on and so forth, right? That is the larger purpose behind the webinar. But always keep the salient features in place, but keep your point of view through, and then listen to them very vehemently when they're asking you questions, so that you can answer to the point and very specific, so that people know and then relate to it, that you know what you're talking about always, right? So this is the breakup of the structure of a webinar, which you can use going forward. You can practice yourself until you go to the live audience, so that you are confident, right, how you will do this, and you have a clear timer in place, so that you know what to address when and how. With that, I think if webinar is clear, then you will know how to scale webinars, because if this is a starting point, you've never done this before, webinars can help you really scale, okay, because you're meeting your audience right there in front of you. You have an opportunity to convert them with the offers that you offer, because beyond that, they might not come in one-to-one basis with you, all right, if it's a lead or a just a traffic source which has come your way. Got it? So please take this in that fashion. With that, I will see you in the next one, okay, which is all about effective webinars and the value proposition. We'll go a little details. All right, I'll see you there in a minute.